And here, back live, looking at the Thames River and all these various vessels here as part of the group that are being powered by the human hand and the human arm as they paddle their way, row their way into position to begin the 1,000-boat flotilla.
Of course, there are 260 man-powered boats, and what will happen is now they are passing Her Majesty's boat, the Spirit of Chartwell, and then once all the man-powered boats have gone ahead, including the Gloriana, which is the 88-foot barge that will lead the Spirit of Chartwell. Of course, the man-powered boats are trying to go in diamond formation, not always easy when you've got your boats that are going 4 knots an hour. They're trying to keep up to that pace.
You'd think for a parade like this that they would have figured out some way to rehearse it, but there hasn't been. There, once again, is one of the dragon boats with Canadian breast cancer survivors on it. They're all Canadian on this boat. The boat itself is from here, is from over here. But all the paddlers, and they're doing pretty good in terms of paddling in unison. But the practice, the rehearsals, never took place. 1 in 4 of these boats has had a really good kind of briefing on what was supposed to happen today. We talked earlier, about the issues about the Thames. You're quite correct, Kira, that the Thames River barrier, which is designed at the far end of the Thames, designed to keep the flow coming back on the tides from impacting downtown London if there's a very high tide coming in. And also is being used increasingly these days to deal with the impact of global warming, which has been, an issue here in London, as it has in many other different parts of the world. So the Thames barrier is closed today, which lessens, obviously, the impact of that tidal move up and down. But still, Thames River is a swift current, and it is, you have to know what you're doing to be out there in any of these vessels. It can be awfully tricky.
And they deliberately left the tide at low tide so that all audiences and the crowds around the river could see all these boats. It's very much, they're expecting 1 million people to turn out and watch this historic pageant. And so it's important that they got to see all the boats there. And it has been amazing, Peter, to see the crowds have all come out, considering how much it's been raining. There's Boris Johnson, the Mayor of London.
We're going to talk to him a little later. Susan Ormiston is going to have a chat with him. Watching these scenes now, earlier, a few minutes ago, I was talking about that famous Canaletto painting that here we've got Prince Andrew and his 2
rather
daughters.
Excited girls. There's Princesses
and John Major, the former British Prime Minister. Now, this is Havengor. This is the vessel they're on.
Exactly.
You go back to the mid-1960s, 1965, when Sir Winston Churchill passed, and they had a 1-boat flotilla in the Thames to come by Westminster, where he had been such a heroic figure. 1965, it would have been a cool day for that one. So let's go back live to look at the pictures now here on the Thames, because I was talking earlier about the Canaletto painting, that many things were designed after today, and we've got a copy of that painting for you to have a look at, because what you see in this painting is in many ways what some of the designers on this day tried to capture. When they were designing, especially the Royal Barge. You look at this painting by the famous Italian painter, right?
Yeah, who usually did the Venice scenes, of course.
Mm-hmm. And this is, the look today.
What we're seeing now, Peter, they are all lining up, getting ready, diamond formation, to do the man-powered squadron salute with their oars, because they're in front of the Spirit of Chartwell. This is where they will pay their respects to Her Majesty the Queen before they move on. And of course, there is the first of the music, the Herald Barges.
lots of music throughout the next hour and a half. We'll try to capture as much of it as we can. It's always dependent, obviously, as to where the microphones are located. Let's go down to Susan Ormiston.
Practicing it a few days ago on the Thames. As we've mentioned, 2 of those dragon boats are filled with women, Canadian women, who have survived breast cancer. International abreast with some other paddlers, and 1 boat full of Canadians. The Gloriana is just over here to my left. It's moving up the river, and all these wonderful boats, dragon boats, drummers, and more to come. So once we've seen these pass by, the Queen's royal barge will fall in behind them, and they'll continue on down the river. The crowd around me now has gone quiet because now they really have something to look at. All these little boats coming down here. You were talking about the Canaletto painting. Much different picture with these dragon boats, but truly a magnificent view on the river right now, just filled with paddlers. Peter.
You know, Susan, stay with us here just for a second, because, you know, Susan, of course, is our London-based correspondent, and she has been watching the preparations for this for weeks, 10, 15 deep along the whole route of this flotilla. Is it what you expected?
Yeah. Peter, it's better. It's better than I expected. It looks like a flotilla. It looks like a pageant for the Queen. All the boats, even these small dragon boats, are decorated, festooned with colors, royal colors, and also Canadian colors on this river. And the boats to come will also have bunting. There's miles and miles of bunting decorating these boats. So even though it's gray, I mean, it's normally gray here, unfortunately, it's not chucking down with rain, and people are really excited to be on the riverbank watching this history being made, on liquid history, if you will, on the Thames. It won't happen again. This is particularly for this Queen after 60 years. As you said, this city hasn't seen a flotilla like this since 1662. Catherine Braganza came down, her coronation down this river. So it really is spectacular. In just a few moments, we're going to see that royal barge come right behind us with the Queen. Peter.
Thanks, Susan. We're catching our first glimpse now of Canada 1, the canoe that's being paddled. It's the canoe that was actually flown in here yesterday. It came in on one of the Royal Canadian Air Force aircraft, got here, was unloaded yesterday morning. They had a lot of trouble. There it is. They had a lot of trouble getting it down to towards. Yeah, that close-up wasn't it, but you did catch a glimpse from a distance of the canoe a moment ago. They did have some trouble getting the base that it was on. Yes, this isn't it. Keep in mind, the pictures at this point here are controlled by the BBC, so whatever they choose to use as pictures are the ones you get to see. We will have close-up of the Canadian canoe, Canoe 1. Canada 1 coming up in the next little while. But anyway, it finally got into the water this morning, and the group of paddlers paddled together for the first time this morning. Now, they're all expert in canoeing. It's not like it was their first time in a canoe, but it was the first time that they canoed together as a group. So they were more than a little bit excited about how this day was going to unfold. Every time you see one of these small boats go by, you get a sense of what that Spirit of Chartwell, the royal barge, is like, not only in size but in splendor. So as this first group of small craft pass the Chartwell, then the Chartwell will be pulling out soon to follow them down the Thames River. Just Queen and Prince Philip are watching right now.
Well, what we did see there, Peter, were the Sea Cadets, and the Sea Cadets are for youth, disadvantaged youths between the ages of 10 and 18, and this is all part of the Commonwealth Squadron, and so these Sea Cadets are very excited to be involved. They're from Stonehenge, 55-strong team, and they, again, are trying to sail in diamond formation.
Well, let's talk to one of the Canadian Sea Cadets who's here.